The Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is a great overall phone, but doesn't really impress me at the end when I owned the Samsung Galaxy S8. Let's find out in this full review of the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. So, the Samsung Galaxy S9. To start off, pretty easy to see that the Samsung Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus have a very similar design to the S8. There are however key changes that is made by listening to the consumers. For one, we have the fingerprint scanner moved below the camera instead of next to it. While this is a much better position, I do think that on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, it's maybe a bit too low. And then the second part is that we still have a headphone jack like we should. Like I said so many times, there is no reason to remove it and it's a very useful feature to have on your phone. Again, don't remove it. It's also worth noting that the Samsung Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus feel a bit different. It feels like the metal frame on the side is a bit less rounded, making it fit better in the hand somehow. However, we do still have a Bixby button and they should have textured it, making it easy to distinguish that button from all the other buttons on the phone. Now the sense that I'm getting with the S9 Plus is that Samsung is playing it really safe. Of course we had the battery problems on that Note 7 and after that they just seem to play it safe with that. Because while the S9 Plus is in every dimension larger than the S7 Edge, it still has the smaller 3500 mAh battery size compared to the 3600 mAh on the S7 Edge. While we could say that it's because of the dual camera, the same stays true for the S8 Plus and they didn't have that dual camera. I am just not sure what Samsung is doing with that extra space and honestly, in turn the battery life is because of it pretty bad. I can make it to the end of the day, but there are days where I can't. But then again, I had the same experience of course with the battery life on the S8 and honestly apart from the camera though, you won't really notice the difference that much between the S8 and the S9 Plus. Of course apart from the speakers itself, but we'll get to that later. But let's talk about the camera, because while I like most shots coming from it, I do have some issues. But first off, Samsung introduced 3 new main features for the camera itself on the S9 and the S9 Plus. One, you have slow motion recording at 960 frames per second for 0.2 seconds at 720p, which is better executed than on the Sony Xperia XZ Premium simply because of that action box. And it is really cool to see everything slow down so much that 0.2 seconds becomes 6 seconds in slow motion. The second change is that for the first time in a real smartphone we have variable aperture. No, the Nokia N86 wasn't really a smartphone like we know it today, but it did have that feature as well and it was the first phone to feature that. The variable aperture is questioned by many if it's a gimmick or not, and to simply shut that down, it's not. On phones where we have a set aperture like 1.7, we have issues when you capture an object, for instance a close-up shot, that can then make edges on that object soft, even though you don't wish to. But if you make a set aperture lower, the low light performance will hurt. So this is where variable aperture comes to play. When light goes below 100 lux, it will automatically make the aperture 1.5, but aside from that it will stay at that 2.4. Sure, on a shot where you capture a whole environment you won't notice it, but when you get close to an object you will. So, how are pictures in general on the S9 Plus? Well, they are great. Pictures are sharp and clear, and of course we have the saturation like we are used to from Samsung, however it is not as aggressive as in the past. What is really aggressive though, and maybe too much for my liking, is the dynamic range. While the dynamic range has improved a lot, in some cases it makes what could be a dramatic shot a simple plain shot that I don't like. Or in some cases it makes the image feel really flat with no shadows at all. And then when we get below 100 lux, the camera gets as much light in as it can because the aperture is then set to 1.5. However, I do have a bit of a problem with it, and that is that in low light pictures and videos are inconsistent. From time to time we get way too much warm tones, making the pictures look really yellow, where in some cases everything is captured the way it should be. This is without a doubt something Samsung should look into and work on, because in low light you simply shouldn't want those warm tones, it looks horrible. With that being said, even if you have pictures like that, it is really sharp for low light shots and it does get an impressive amount of light in. The third new thing is that it allows you to capture 4K video at 60 frames per second, where before you had it limited to 4K and 30 frames per second. Simply put, smoother videos, and you can slow it down if you wish to. However, at the beginning when I did get this phone, the 4K video at 30 frames per second had some issues with dropping frames. This however seems to be fixed now and I'm not seeing that problem anymore. So that was a quick fix, but something you might still experience if you didn't get that update. And if you have the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, you have another feature, and that is of course the dual camera. This dual camera setup is like many others. It allows you to capture the nice bokeh shots, but it also allows you a 2x optical zoom. And in general, the edge detection on this phone is really good, and it really captures the depth of field easily. And in some cases, it has this extra feature where you can change that bokeh effect. However, like I said, this is in some cases. And what is also really nice to see is when you capture pictures via live focus, you can then also adjust it to have the wide angle shot. So let's talk of course about all the other important features on the phone itself. And let's start with the audio quality, because this is one big step that is really improved. Because unlike before, we for the first time have a dual speaker setup on the phone. Meaning the front facing speaker and the bottom facing speaker working together, and they are tuned by AKG. The sound coming out of the S9 and the S9 Plus is really improved. Sounds are much richer and the bass seems to be better as well. Next to that, of course, you have more volume as well. So great job on that, Samsung. But what took you so long? So my version of the S9 Plus is the Exynos version, and we've seen the numbers and it beats the Qualcomm version in that. However, don't worry if you have the Qualcomm version, it's not like you're missing out of anything seeing the comparison on PhoneBuff. Overall though, my experience is that the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus is very fast. But again, it doesn't really say to me this is much better than the S8 that I had before. And that is simply because chips have become so powerful and phones have become so fast that in daily use you won't really notice the difference. But of course there is one difference for the S9 Plus, and that is the upgrade in RAM, where on the S9 you will still get 4GB of RAM, on the S9 Plus you will get 6GB of RAM. And this part is where I noticed some difference. Apps on the background aren't shut down as easily as before, and I can easily continue where before it probably would have to reload the apps. Now it shouldn't come as a surprise that on the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus and the S9 we have a great display again. Seriously, Samsung knows what it's doing when it comes to that display. Colors are great and the sun can shine as much as it wants, but on my Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus I have no problem because of its brightness. It is really a pleasure to watch videos on the S9 Plus in combination with this display and the improved audio of course. So, the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, a great phone, but it feels like a phone that is playing it safe. If you get the Samsung Galaxy S9, you will get everything you want, but it feels like a phone that won't excel in anything either. This feels like a phone that is trying to make everything work well but not excel. And while that isn't necessarily a bad thing, it makes the phone come over plain and not as exciting as it could have been. Samsung used to be a great innovator, but it seems to be the one thing that is lacking behind on the S9 and the S9 Plus. Yes, the variable aperture is great and I'm very pleased with the super slow-mo, but it still gives me the feeling apart from that there isn't anything that they really changed. Of course I'm not talking about bezels because I don't want any less bezel than we have now. keep it like this, I'm fine with that. And oh yeah, no notch please, no notch, that's not innovation, that is copying and it doesn't look good by any means. Like I said, at the end the S9 Plus is a great phone, and when you have it I have no doubt that you will be happy with it. But for instance, if you have the S8, wait an extra year and hope that they don't create this stupid notch on it. Anyway, do you own the S9 or the S9 Plus and what do you think of it? Let me know in the comments below, and while you're at it, don't forget to like, and if you liked, of course, you can check out my other videos like comparing the S8 and the S9 camera. Have a good one and talk to you guys